Okay guys, this is a fun one for me as we're gonna go over the items that are not gonna be reflected on the property disclosure that you need to make sure that you check off your checklist prior to buying the home. Follow along. Just so you're aware, the items that can be omitted from the property disclosure do vary from state to state, so make sure to check with your attorney or realtor to verify that that information is tried and true, and exhaust every option that you can, because anything that's done on the forefront of purchasing a home is much easier and safer than doing it after you purchase the home. So here's just a checklist of what you need to look out for when you purchase your home. Now, of course, the most popular question is whether or not murders and suicides have to be disclosed on the property. And the answer here in Montana is no, which is wild. Guaranteed, you're gonna find about it from a neighbor after you move in, so keep that in mind. There's always someone that's willing to share the story of what happened in that particular household. So do your research. Much like every one of my videos, it's a lot of common sense type practices. Make sure to use your common sense. Do a little internet search on the property. Make sure that there hasn't been any murders or suicides, because the seller is not required by law to disclose that information. Next up on the list is sexual predators. What's called Megan's Law is an act to disclose all that information to the general public. So you can Google Megan's Law, I'll include it down below the video, but you could check your current neighborhood or prospective neighborhood to verify that there are no sexual predators and or where they live in the community. That way you can protect your family. But it is a very big one. Make sure to check Megan's Law and verify that you are comfortable with that, because that will not be reflected in the property disclosure. Now, a big one that we run into is information about off-site areas that could affect the property itself. There's a lot of scenarios that this could happen. You could be right next to a school, so you got to worry about, the school sounds, bells, alarms, etc. But there could be nuances like a dry cleaning mat that might not contain all of their resources like they should, or if there's a refinery close by and that affects the air quality. Just make sure to do your due diligence, check on, say, Google Maps to make it easy, and really be comfortable with the proximity that your prospective house is going to be in, because it will take a toll on you in the long term. Traffic is also a big concern. If you're thinking about buying a house right on the corner of a busy street, it is something to consider, not only for resale, but also for your value and your sense of peace as well. So make sure to check that out, because that won't be reflected in the property disclosure. A lot of sellers just make an assumption that you are aware of all the nuances in the proximity. So just make sure that you check it out. Now, any information about disputes or litigation, especially with property boundaries, is here in Montana a big one, just because there are a lot of areas where the boundaries aren't clearly defined. So we do our best to disclose that information. However, if the seller truly does not know that there are any legal disputes, they might not be conveyed on the property disclosure. So make sure to get that in writing and verify that that information is tried and true. So that way you're not arguing with a neighbor, 5 years down the line, that their hedges crossed over your property boundary lines, and now you're trying to make an improvement on the property, but you can't do that because there is some sort of dispute within that. Now, last but not least is the permitting process. So there are times, whether it was the previous owner or an owner prior to that, where they did, say, an addition on the property. You need to make sure that all your permits are in place with the city or the county to ensure that you are legitimate. It's very unfortunate, especially if the prior owner didn't know any better, that maybe they didn't go through the permitting process when they upgraded electrical or plumbing or what have you, because that could affect the way that you do things going forward. And in some cases, there are fines for that. If the contractor did not pull permits and someone else comes to check to ensure that everything is running correctly, just make sure if anything seems amiss to double check with the county or the city to ensure that there truly are permits in place and that you are legitimate. A lot of things get by with sellers, you know, whether they live there a long time or maybe their memory fades. There's a lot of spaces in between repairs and problems that people seem to omit over time or forget over time. So just make sure, no question is a stupid question. The more information that we can provide to the buyer, the better. So make sure to check it off your list as we go. Now, throughout this whole process, it's really important. You're gonna have a home inspection, but you need to dig into these items and other items that I might not have covered, just to verify that you know exactly what you're buying. This is most likely your biggest investment yet to date, so just make sure that you go through the checklist, you knock off everything that you can possibly think of, but also rely on your attorney or your real estate agent to provide you all that information as well, because there's going to be a lot of things that you aren't aware of that me or the realtor that's representing you can handle. I hope that information helps you. I know it's kind of scary. There's a lot to think of when buying a property, but don't rely on just your home property inspection. Dig into the property disclosure. Go line by line and verify that that information is correct, just so you know exactly what you're purchasing. Again, this is your biggest investment. Don't take it lightly. I hope you appreciate that video. If there's anything that I can ever help you out with, please contact me, reach out. Even if you're in another state, I don't care. I just want to be able to help. At least I can steer you in the right direction. I hope you guys have a great day.